I might well point you on your awesome stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the feast of the first fruits. Open up. Arya. You read everything. Barakata Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Asherah, Telanawa, Hayawam, Bakawarya, Bashalawam, Tawada, Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, or the Most High, in the name of Christ, that gives to us the feast of the first fruits in peace. Thank you, so be it. Taha'ai Ma'ad Asherai Makad, Psalms 121. Anya Harayim Ayanyanya Oh Harayim Mayan Yabawa Isaiah Yabawa Mayahawa Shai Shah Shemayim Warataza La'a Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yala'a Yanawam Shashamarka Hana La'a Yanawam Wala'a Yashun Shashumar Yashrala Yahweh Shemaya Yahweh Tazalia I'll Yad Yum Yum Ya Yawamum Hashemash La'a Hakaya Wairak La'a Balayala Yahweh Yashmaya Makal Ra Yashma Napasha Yahweh Yashma Hawalakia Waboaya Ma'aitha I Willam Basham Yahawasha for water. Amen.
Psalms 121. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yashrala, Hill Israel. Shema Yashrala, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Chad, Shema Yashrala, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Chad, Shema Yashrala, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Chad.
Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Tapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abba Yanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwithka, Thaba'ah, Ratazawanka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Ethalanawa, Lakam, Yowum, Za, Wasalaklanawa, Kababwathanawa, Kasalaknawa, Kababwathanawa, Wala'a, Hadayanawa, O, Nasayawan, Abo, Hawashinawa, Mara, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Waha'ala, Wathaparath, La'aiwalam, Amen.
Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thy is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen. Ha'ashirah matazawaf, 10 Commandments. La'ah, Yahaya, Lakah, Alahim, Akarim, Al-Panya. La'ah, Daisha, Lakah, Pasal, Wala'ah, Daibadam. La'ah, Alakwaka, Shamwa, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Lashba. Zakar, Ath, Hayawum, Hashabath, Lakodashwa, Kabad, Abiakar, Wa Amakar, La'ah, Diratazak, La'ah, Tana'ah, La'ah, Daganab, La'ah, Da'ina, Shakur, La'ah, Dakamad, Ko, Asherah, Lara'aika, Aman.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Aman. Yeshabah, be seated. Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Natalanawa, Par Yahagapin, Tuara Aman, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha'Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. I model upon you, all Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakatah Yahweh, Hagadol, Rakwam, Abiyah, Wanara'ah, Aliyawan, Malak, Shol, Shemayim, Waratazah, Wakol, Dabayim, Kayayam, Wagum, Hamashiyat, Mayahawa, Adawanawa, Ahabnawa, Aplah, Yahweh Yahweh Shai. Zakarnawa, Yahweh, Barataza 1, Imka, Yasha'Allah, Izarnawa, Banah, Wasap, Yasha'Allah, O, Nanawa, Yum Yun, Aitha, Kayawumyum, Makwadam, Babakusha, Shalat, Mayaka'Allah, Wataz Wadak, Alahayim, La, Magunnawa, Rapanawa, Washamar, Alnawa, Baikwar, Shalat, Arocha, Shal, Yahushai, Limnawa, Lalamadnawa, Rabim, Kakama, Tabawana, Wada'ai, Shal, the Barka. Ba'asham, Yahushai, through water, from God, Waiwalam, Amun. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. And also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahushai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people, Israel. Help us build and gather Israel. Most high, we beg you right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahushua to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahushua, thank you always and forever. So be it. Blessed are Yahweh in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the law. Barak. Hashem Yahushua, Ashirah, Atalanawa, Awar, Awah. Blessed are Yahweh in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the rams on the call of people. Barak Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Ashirah, Atalanawa, All right, Shalom, Yasha'Allah. Happy Feast of the First Fruits. Happy Feast of the Pentecost. Happy Feast of Weeks. Feast of the 7 weeks. All the names that attribute to this today's holy day. As we can hear, I would like to think that, our brothers and sisters is popping these fireworks in honor of the feast day, but I know that's not the case, right? And that's probably going on across everywhere in a major city. If you're in New York, if you're in Miami, you in Chicago, LA, I pretty much know that vibration, and it's been said on social media, that vibration of Jake is going across everywhere, especially today where they're popping fireworks. And I would like to say, hopefully that it's not in honor of today, because for the most part, Jake has been popping fireworks since before Juneteenth, which was June 19th. So if I remember 3 days before June 19th, Jake was popping fireworks, and it's been consistent every day. And I don't know what depot or what wholesale place they went and got fireworks, but today, of course, is a little bit more stringent. Like they've been just going, like when I was like with the brother, we said we came across the bridge, they was just going real hard on popping the fireworks across the whole skyline. But for us that are in this truth, for those of us who are following the Most High, we come in one mind, one spirit, one mediator, one faith. Before we get into it, I'm going to read this in Psalms 133. Very popular scripture. Psalms 133 and 1. Y'all come on if you could read that Bible Kashah.
Psalms 133 and 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
Right. So we read in the scriptures during the Sabbath service where the Most High, the apostles, Christ, everyone would love for us to all come with one mind state, come unified, come with one agenda, Not that just we just coming together for something carnal and we there with different agendas, different thought process, different things that we believe in. But in this case, we come to the high holy day. We come to the Most High because we have one thing in mind, which is his laws, statutes, and commandments, his testimony, Yahweh, and our salvation, right? We all come on one accord with that in mind. So it's a beautiful thing when you have brothers who are like-minded to come together for the same purpose, right? Read on.
It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard that went down to the skirts of his garments.
Right. So we said when brothers come together, it is like that precious ointment. So when you read in the scriptures and the law, when they created that ointment to anoint the high priest, that was a very special ointment that was now dedicated specifically for the priest. So when brothers come together, it is like we have now been all anointed by the Most High. It's almost similar to the ointment that came down Aaron's beard. That's how like we are all right now, a holy apothecary of brothers thinking according to the Most High's will, right? Read on.
As the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion, for there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Right.
So in the beginning, before the Most High called it to rain, the Most High had to do water the earth, right? From the highest plateau down to the slowest valley or the lowest valley. So that's like how now the Most High is watering all of us. From us being anointed by the Most High, from us being watered and filled with the Spirit of the Lord. That's how it is when you now have brothers through not just here in Philly, but Jersey, New York, Miami, Cali, Chicago, Texas, wherever, Germany, Netherlands, we all over. And if we all come together in these different times and places to now come together to worship the Most High, we have now had that holy ointment poured upon us, and we have the Most High's water now coming down upon us as well. So this is the way in which how the Lord is looking and viewing at us as we come together to keep his holy day, right? You see what they're doing. You see what the majority of our brothers and sisters is doing. They out there doing something different outside of keeping the Most High's day. But we in here going to go through scriptures, understanding the purpose and meaning behind the day, understanding the purpose and meaning by what the Most High wants and requires for us. And then we're also going to have a feast day, right? I mean, a feast after we go through the scriptures. All right. So I wanted to just touch on Psalms 133 and just get, a good vibration, a pleasantry of how we are when we come together to come and worship the Most High. All right. So now, we're going to go to Leviticus. Actually, we're going to start first in Deuteronomy 26. Deuteronomy 26. Oh, man. I was muted this whole time. Salaka. I was muted this whole time on my phone. So, Pathak, you online? Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me on the teleconference line?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, Con. Yeah, I was on mute. Salaka doing the prayers. I didn't realize it. So we're in Deuteronomy 26 and 1. If I can get a reader.
Deuteronomy chapter 26, verse 1. And it shall be when thou art come in unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and possess it and dwellest therein.
Come on.
That thou shalt take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which thou shalt bring of thy land, that the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shalt put it in a basket, and shalt go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name there.
Come on.
Verse 3. And thou shalt go unto the priest that shall be in those days, and say unto him, I profess this day unto the Lord thy God, that I am come unto the country which the Lord sware unto our fathers for to give us.
Right. So the Most High during the time of Moses, when we was in the wilderness, was preparing us for when we get into the homeland, when we get into the land of Canaan that would become the land of Israel. And then when the Lord said that he was going to give us a land that flowed with milk, meaning it was going to be plenteous. It was going to be enough to sustain us for everything that we needed, right? But now the Lord wanted to make sure that when we get in the land, that we would never forget him, right? So we had it. We came before the Most High every Sabbath day. So when you do that, at 7 days, every seventh day, you come before the Most High. Something that you worship before the Most High. We're doing a Sabbath service. We're praising. But then you go off and you lay, right? Farmers and shepherds. So now, as the agriculture and things is growing, fruits and vegetables and plants and produce, land that you bring from the earth, you have to take the first of it and put it in a basket and then come and bring it to the priest, right? And when you come and bring it to the priest, you make sure you let it be known that the Most High is the one that allowed you to come from out of your land of your captivity into your land of your prosperity. So from one state to the next state, right? And then once we don't follow the Lord, that he has in control of where we now end up. So this is what the Lord is bringing down here as far as growing these produce and growing our income and our source of income, that we now go and we bring that to the Most High. Read on.
Verse 4. And the priest shall take the basket out of thy hand and set it down before the altar of the Lord thy God.
Right. So this became a ceremonial thing that the priest would then take it and then go and bring it. I mean, the men would take it to the priest. The priest would take it and set it to be offered up as a sacrifice. Read on.
Verse 5. And thou shalt speak and say before the Lord thy God, a Syrian ready to perish was my father, and he went down into Egypt and sojourned there with a few, and became there a...
Because in that region, that's where Jacob was dwelling, in that area by the Syrian. That was the main place, because his son was there, where there was a lot of food, there was a lot of produce and a lot of sustenance. So he came, dwelt there, and became over time a great nation. We're going into a bit of history of our ancestors. This is what happened. This is the beginnings of our ancestry. Not so-called black people, but it was started from a man named Jacob. Not started from a man named, not started from a man named Africa. Not started from a man named Africa. A family tree of nations that starts with a man. That's what they try to take away from us and educate us colors, right? So much so that right now we still food. No, a man that came down and dwelt in Egypt. Read on.
Verse 6. And the Egyptians evil and treated bondage. Verse 7. And when we cried unto the Lord God of our fathers, the Lord heard our voice and looked on our affliction and our labor and our oppression. And the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand and with outstretched arm and with great terribleness and with signs and with wonders. Right.
So that was what happened to us in ancient Egypt. We're in modern day Egypt now. So like it says in Romans 15:4, things written aforetime in the Bible, which is our history book, right, is for our learning. So now we learn what happened to our ancestors during the transpiring in this land of oppression. And the Most High is hearing our cries today. He's been hearing it for years. He's been hearing the prayers of the righteous that has been going up to the Father to pray for the avenging of those souls who have now been victimized by the hands of the heathen here in the earth. Not just America, but in the earth. There's been a lot of atrocities that's happened still to us to this day. So the Lord is reminding us this is what he did before, and it's going to happen again, but on a higher level, right? We're still going to be brought back to our homeland, but in that time, in that day, we're going to be in a one perfect mind across the nation. We're not going to have us going into the land of our prosperity with people still coming up with different agendas. Like when we came in the wilderness, you had others who was now thinking, oh, we remembering the gods from Egypt and wanting to build a golden calf and being persuaded to want to go back to the captivity what they had before because of the things that they saw, did not see it in the wilderness. Not understanding that the Most High was proving us, right? To see where we really stood. We're not going to have that in that day. We're going to rule out, we're going to root out all the rebels. That's what the scriptures say. All the rebels and those who wishy-washy, who want to come with their own agendas, they're going to be rooted out and dealt with by the Most High in Christ. But this is just reminding us of how good it was when we came out of Egypt and what we were supposed to do while in the land. Read.
Verse 8. And the Lord brought us forth, Salakia, verse 9. And he hath brought us into this place and have given us this land, even a land that floweth with milk and honey.
Mm-hmm.
And now behold, I have brought the first fruits of the land, which thou, O Lord, hast given me. And thou shalt set it before the Lord thy God, and worship before the Lord thy God.
Right. So once you receive it, the first of it, you now go and you dedicate it back to the Most High. Right. Pequod has been on a kick for the past several weeks to let us know and remind us that none of this that we have, we own. Right. This is not ours. Everything is the Most High. So this is even the body, the spirit that you have is not your own. It's borrowed. When the Most High is ready to bring his spirit back up to him, he causes you to what? Die. There's been a few men, several men, who was able to not taste death and then go back up to the third heaven, right? Enoch was one of them, right? And there's a couple others that went by the same way. I think a lot of them begin with E, but I'll let you figure that out. One other one was in the Apocrypha, and then another other one is in, I think you read about it in the Kings, right? So there's been a few to have not tasted death, but we now are able to see and understand that the Most High requires us to always give back to him that which is his. Even us, we are now dedicated to the Most High by ransom of Christ's death, that we go out there and we do things to sacrifice our time, our bodies, and our spirit to doing things productive to building up our nation, right? Read on.
Verse 11. And thou shalt rejoice in every good thing which the Lord thy God hath given.
Stop. So it says rejoice in every good thing. A lot of times we pay attention to the things that we lack instead of the things that we have, right? Ungrateful sometimes we are. Not thankful that the Most High has given even just the small things. This truth is a major thing, right? Most of us are not thankful. We still looking for the next thing. Oh, I want to get this and I want to get that. But we always supposed to rejoice in every good thing that the Most High has given us and be thankful, right? Not dwelling on, well, I don't got this amount of money. I don't have that perfect car. I ain't get that house yet. I ain't get this yet. I ain't got that job. But focus on you just have your health, because a lot of people don't even just have good health, right? You should be thankful for that. You got your sound mind, your wits about you to be able to understand and discern between good and evil. Most people who are out there can't do that, but we can. So every good thing that comes your way by way of the Most High, we're supposed to rejoice in. Read.
Verse 11. And thou shalt rejoice in every good thing which the Lord thy God hath given unto thee and unto thy house, thou and the Levite and the stranger that is among you.
Right. So we're supposed to rejoice in these things. Specifically now we're talking about the first fruits. That's what this day is commemorating, the first fruits of a feast that the Most High commemorated that we keep every year. Not 4th of July, right? Not Thanksgiving, not Christmas, not Valentine's Day. None of these days was commemorated or dedicated by the Most High. A lot of people we was watching was it Geno Jennings on the TV after the Sabbath service, but he made a good point, because a lot of times people who are Christians follow everything that's not of Christ, right? They're under this mysticism that by going to church on Sunday, when Christ never went to church on Sunday, which is the first day of the week, it's not the seventh day of the week, it's the first day of the week. By going to church on Easter Sunday and celebrating something that's pagan, they think and believe that they are now following in the footsteps of Christ, which is not the case, right? Just the small bits of it tells you that this is all made up and it's lies, right? But the things that are plain and clear in the scriptures, like Passover, like we read in the Feast of the Firstfruits, like we read about the Feast of Rededication of the Altar, these things is in the gospel. You read about them. The apostles kept them, let alone those from ancient times in the Old Testament. But even the New Testament men kept them. So why aren't today's modern day Christians keeping it, right? So it says here, read that again.
Verse 11. And thou shalt rejoice in every good thing which the Lord thy God hath given unto thee and unto thy house, thou and the Levite and the stranger that is among you.
Keep going.
When thou hast made an end of tithing all the tithes of thy increase the third year, which is the year of tithing, and have given it unto the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within thy gate and be filled.
Right. So when you look into the whole tithing thing, we had 10% that was given to the Most High, the first fruits of our increase, whether it was produce, whether it's money, whatever. If you can't do one and you gave something, whatever your income is, 10% goes to the Most High. Then it had it on the third year of tithing that certain things was given to the Levite. Then we had another tithing that we did when we all took the tithe and then went to Jerusalem and ate it in Jerusalem, right? Some of this we can't do now because it's not set up. The Levitical priesthood is not set up to do some of it. But now when we can go and look at what we can do for the poor, the Most High has it where you can give alms. It's not nothing that's stopping you from going and dedicating and giving certain things to the poor. You don't even have to go and follow some of these systems that do these soup kitchens, because you may not understand what their whole objective is and their motives behind what they teach and what they advocate for. You can go do it on your own, right? So the Most High has a standard when you read throughout the scriptures. As far as for tithing, there's different things that set up with the tithes that we did. Ariah.
Ordained an order for us to go to the father, to help little kids, to the widow, that doesn't have her husband there.
Right.
To help these. We don't even do that now.
Right.
So that's deep.
Right, because they always say when you look at societies and you look at nations and kingdoms, they always say the way in which you measure a kingdom is you see how they treat their poor, right? How they treat the poor is going to be a reflection of how they run their whole nation and their government. So in the law, the Most High had it as law that we now had a standard to go and help the poor out. So even as we're going to read a little bit later in Leviticus 23, for those who are farmers who had land and it was growing crops, it wasn't something that you're going to say, like he says, this is my land, I own it, and you selfish with it, because that's how some people are in their mentality. They just want to be a niggard at the table, like you read in the Apocrypha, meaning they're just stingy. The Lord said that when you have a land, don't glean the corners of your crops, leave it for the poor. So that's how, even in the commandment for those who have land, borrowing land, which is the Most High's land, you're feeding the poor. And they know they can come on that land, that property, and eat. Pick corn, pick whatever fruits and vegetables off of that land, because it's in the law, right? You can't come out and say, hey, get off my property. They're going to look at you and say, well, hold on, you now violating the Most High's commandment, because this is what you're supposed to be doing. So like what you're saying, yes, the Most High even has it in the law. If a man didn't consider it's in the law, how we even take care of our poor, right? Same thing for the widows, right? Those who don't have husbands or those who don't have fathers and any guidance, the Most High has it in the law. We're supposed to be like a father, but not a husband to those. Meaning that you don't come in and now the woman's husband died or father died and they don't have anybody. You now want to come in and just start marrying and just getting a whole bunch of wives because that's lawful. No, that's not the objective and the intent. The initial intent is supposed to go and be a guide to her, right? To give her some understanding and to provide for and protect her like a husband or a father would do. But it's not your role to come in and say, oh, I'm about to get me another wife, or I'm about to come in. No. Because then that's going to lead to folly and fornication, right? Men just going to want to go dilly-dally and just waiting for a certain sister husband to move out the way. That's not how we're supposed to operate. Read that again.
Verse 12. When thou hast made an end of tithing all the tithes of thy increase the 3rd year, which is the year of tithing, and has given it unto the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within thy gates and be filled.
Come on.
Then thou shalt say before the Lord thy God, I have brought away the hollow things out of mine house, and also have given them unto the Levite, and unto the strangers, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all thy commandments, which thou hast commanded me. I have not transgressed thy commandments, neither have I forgotten them.
Right. So now those who are blessed to be able to have the ability to do these things, you are the provider for the fatherless, the stranger, right? Because we talk about strangers, sometimes we always try to say that the stranger's talking about us. No, keep in mind, right? The Most High had one law for us and the stranger that now governs everything. So now when we in Jerusalem or Israel, you're going to have servants, or you're going to have those who living up amongst you that's going to be the heathen. So the law had to be perfect to cover all bases. So if they are now dwelling in your land, like a Ruth, for instance, if they're now dwelling in your land, you now have provisions on how you deal with them. You can't just say, oh, this law is only for Israel, so I don't know how I'm going to deal with them. No, the Lord took care of all of that. Put it in perspective on how you deal with them, right? That's why he kind of refers to us when we came out of Egypt. When we first went to Egypt, what happened? Huh?
When we first went into Egypt,
Yep.
of the 70,
Yep.
we began to build our nation and grow.
We sold everything.
Huh?
We sold everything to them. We gave them our cattle and sheep.
Now, go to Exodus real quick. First chapter. Exodus 1 and 7. You read that, Yahweh Kanan.
Exodus 1 and 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them.
Right. So now when you look at when we first came in there with Jacob and the 70 souls, the Pharaoh that had Joseph second in command, he didn't treat us evil or wicked, right? We went in there and flourished, right? We became a great nation. Not till the Pharaoh died and a new Pharaoh came did we get treated harshly, right? So this is now the perspective how the Most High looks at it. When we was in Egypt, somebody took care of us. The Most High put the spirit on the Egyptians to take care of us and allow us to flourish and become a great nation. So now here it is, when we are that great nation, we have to be that fair in mind to be able to use the laws to govern how we deal with the nations, right? So that we don't become wicked like how the other nations deal with other people. We don't want to be like the kingdoms of the past or the kingdoms of right now. We want to be better than them. And what makes us better than them is the commandments of the Most High. So now back in Deuteronomy 26 and where we left off? 14, Kun.
Verse 14. I have not eaten thereof in my mourning, neither have I taken away aught thereof for any unclean use, nor given aught thereof for the dead. But I have hearkened to the voice of the Lord my God, and have done according to all that thou hast commanded me. Look down from thy holy habitation, from heaven, and bless thy people Israel, and the land which thou hast given us, as thou swearest unto our fathers, a land that floweth with milk and honey.
So that was the whole intent. That now when we did this, the Most High would do what? Look down from heaven and bless us. That's what we are looking for, the blessing from the Most High. So if we follow according to the standard, if we follow according to the statute that he set up, that he will look down and be accepted of our offering and say, you know what? Remember, this is the first fruits. This is the beginning of the harvest. So you want the Most High to be pleased in it and say, you know what? All right, good job, brother. Good job, my sons. Good job. Good job. And then what? Bless our crops for the remainder of the year. Bless our habitations for the remainder of the year, right? That was the objective. But now if you didn't want to do that, then guess what? Why would the Father want to bless the nation, right? That's where you see a lot of times when we fell victim to sin, we fell into famines and different things of that nature that cause us to now be in a strait and have the other nations come take us down, or we relied on the other nations now, right? So we want the Most High to sustain us and lift us up and bless us in the land that was promised or given to us.
And I think, based on the scriptures of Proverbs 3 and 9, our struggle is based on us don't understand those principles, especially honor the Most High with all our substance. Right? That's our main problem. Because when we look at Proverbs 3 and 9, it says, honor the Most High with all that thy substance in your first fruit. The first fruit means the best, the cream of the top part. So if I come to realize, if you have a job, you have something that you're earning something, money, or you have time in your hand, we shouldn't have problem with tithe at all. We shouldn't have problem honoring the Most High with our first fruit, because everything that comes in, the first paycheck that come in, you got to take it off the top. It's not like after you pay everything you have, you take care of everything, then whatever is left, then you're gonna give it to the Most High. That's the refuse that you're gonna give to the Most High. If that's the case, that's not the first fruit. Right? The first fruit is right from the top. When they come in, regardless of what you gotta take care of, that gotta come off the top. That way you will never have problems. I come to realize that. You will never have problem with that. Then you will never have problem with blessings, because the Most High sees it. As soon as something comes into your hand, in your substance, you take off the Most High first. So that's it. That pretty much set it up right there.
Okay. So read what you just quoted.
Proverbs 3 and verse 9. Honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruits of all thine increase. Right?
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. And then another thing that I want to add to this is, if we can manage to do this, that first fruit, then now we are trusted. Then the blessing will come, because the Most High said everything is mine. Then you realize that and you give me 10, then you have 90 left, 90% left to take care of whatever you got to take care of. Then you are worthy to be given more, to manage, to have more at your possession. Because now you trust it. Now you become disciplined. Now you can be accountable. Just from the tithe itself, it stands up a lot of other fruit of the Spirit that the Most High see in you, then they can bless you. So the tithe is not just really the 10%, because the Most High don't really need your money, because everything belongs to them. The 100% belongs to Him to begin with. But it's just to see how you're going to manage to listen to me, to do what I say you have to do, even though I'm not here watching you, but you can be trusted to do it.
Good. So that was Proverbs chapter 3, verses 9 and 10. Now we'll go to Leviticus, 23rd chapter. Leviticus 23 and 9.
Where we stop at Deuteronomy?
15. Everybody got that?
Gone.
All right, y'all, if you could read that for me, Baba Shah.
Gone. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 9. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest.
Right. So when we read this chapter is now dealing with the ceremonies of the nation of Israel given to us by the Most High by way of Moses. So from the Sabbath day all the way through all of these specific events that the Most High has now memorialized, we're reading the ritual and the rite that now had to be done in each one of its days. So just like we read in Deuteronomy 26, the Most High outlined what would happen when we got into the Holy Land. This is now the law, now making it a specific holy day at a specific time, right? Read that again.
Verse 10, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest.
Come on.
And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it.
Right. So now when that first fruit, when you start reaping the harvest, so sometimes people look at it and say, well, come these brothers are keeping their first fruits here, and these other brothers keeping their first fruits there. What's the difference? Like, how did you determine this? So now when you look at it, it reads, it says, when you begin to reap the harvest thereof. Right. So now us being here in the city in Philly, and I'm in Jersey, and I'm not a farmer, I don't understand this type of stuff. I don't know how when they plant seed. We now had to go and start looking at farmers' almanacs, started going online to try to gauge when the harvest would come in, or where the farmers start now reaping the harvest in our area. And then once that happens, that's when we're now going to start counting or formulating when we now commemorate our holy convocation. Whereas in other schools, we've done it in the past, that right after the Passover, we would start counting the 7 weeks, right, to get to the 50th of the Pentecost day, right? But we wanted to be a little bit more intuitive and start going into the harvest season, because that's what we're reading about as far as for when that harvest came in. Read verse 12.
Verse 12, and ye shall offer that day, when ye wave the sheep and he lamb without blemish of the first year, for a burnt offering unto the Lord.
So now once you got that first fruits and you go and present it before the priest, remember we said the whole objective was for the Most High to accept it and then bless us, right? That's what we want. We want the Most High to bless our first fruits, because we are now coming before him and recognizing and acknowledging that it is he by whom we have what we have, right? And we're coming with good intentions, not kind of, like you're forced to do it. No, this has to be good intentions, so that, like Paquad said, that you can receive the blessings, right? So now it says once that happens and you wave that sheaf, you now had to come with a burnt offering. That's what we're about to read into the burnt offerings that accompanied the first fruits and the wave it, right? We know what a lot of, with all of our high holy days, there was offerings that was sacrificed on the altar with the holy day. Read.
Verse 13. And the meat offerings thereof shall be 2/10 deal of fine flour mingled with oil, and an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor.
Come on.
And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the fourth part of an hin.
Mm-hmm.
And ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
So when the first fruits was reaped, when you started to reap your harvest and you started to bring in that first fruit, like Paquad said, this was the beginning. This was the first, the best of the best that you went and took before the priest. You would not go and start eating or preparing meals with your first fruits before it was accepted or waved before the Most High, right? And it says throughout all your dwellings in your generations, that was the charge that was to be done, right? So when we were in the Holy Land and then we began to get scattered, that was always still the mentality that the Most High received the first and the blessed first, right? So it says no bread Parched corn, green ears, but it's just dealing with the harvest or like the wheat, right? Write down St. John chapter 12. If you don't have it already in your precepts, sometimes it's good to just write these precepts in your Bibles right along with it so that you'll have it to go and link up with as you move forward. St. John 12 and 24. It says, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit, right? So the objective here is just understand the naming or the vernacular when you start talking about the harvest, and parched corn is just really dealing with the harvest, dealing with the wheat, right? It's not dealing with just corn itself, like corn or maize, or people look at that corn on the cob. It's not just dealing with that. It's dealing with the harvest, the wheat harvest in total. So now let's go back to Leviticus 23. So now we read about how we're supposed to start marking from the time we start reaping the harvest. We take the first fruits, we bring it before the Most High. We come with a burnt offering. We offer it before the Lord. We make sure that we eat none of it until that has happened, right? You now have to come back from offering before the priest and the burnt offerings is done. And now when you come back home to your dwelling, then you can go ahead and eat it. All right, read on.
Verse 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths. Seven Sabbaths shall be complete.
So that's when we started counting, from when we started to recognize that the harvest came in. And then you went and took it to the priest. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. That following Sabbath day is when you started counting. So if you took it on Sunday to Friday, anywhere during that week, you started counting that next Sabbath. 7 Sabbaths is when you started counting. All right, read.
Verse 16. Even unto the morrow, after the 7th Sabbath, shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord.
Right, so on that 50th day came a new offering, but you counted the 7 Sabbaths and then on the morrow. Keep in mind, like I always say, outside of the Sabbath day, the only other high holy day that will always fall on the same day of the week is this day, because it's the morrow after the Sabbath. When we keep the Passover, it could be on a Tuesday, it could be on a Thursday, it could be on a Friday. We keep the Day of Atonement, we keep the Tabernacles, we keep the Feast of the Dedication. It could vary on different days of the week. But this one, we always know that it's going to be on the first day of the week, right? Because the first day of the week begins at sundown, right? Which is now, right? This is the beginning of the week, right? Going into Sunday sunset. Once that comes, then now you're going into the second day. So we always know that the Pentecost is going to be on the first day of the week, right? Read on.
Verse 17. Ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord. And ye shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto the Lord, with their meat offering and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto the Lord.
When we get back in the kingdom, some of these offerings will be renewed, right? But right now, we don't have the temple, right, that was dedicated to the Most High. We're not going to go out there and erect a makeshift temple here in Philly and start getting an altar and start offering them, because that's not the temple that the Most High chose to place his name there. It's supposed to be still in Jerusalem. But now that got destroyed. The Levitical priesthood is not set up, so we can't go through these things in the right manner. So when Christ died on the cross, and then it says the temple rent, right? And then it started to speak about how the temple was not that important to the Most High as we are, right? So we became the actual temple. So it's all about us now making sacrifices in ourselves more so than the meat offerings. The Lord said he really didn't care too much about the meat offering as much as we wanted obedience from us, right? So it's not that they were wicked. It's not that they were, vain. It's just the fact that they're not as important right now as us getting ourselves built together, built up back in the same mind state, in the same savor as the Most High would like. Read on.
Verse 19. Then ye shall sacrifice one kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offering. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before the Lord, with the 2 lambs. They shall be holy to the Lord for the priest.
Right. So now in the beginning, when the first fruits came in, we waved that before the Most High, or the priest waved that before the Most High to be accepted. Now on the 50th day, we also came back with offerings, and the priest did the same thing again. This is a ceremonious thing that they also had to do because it's prescribed here, written in the law. Read.
Verse 21. And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be a holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations.
Right. So now it says again, no servile work. Why the Most High say no servile work? Why the Most High said no servile work? Because it's a holiday. What else?
Sabbath too.
It's a Sabbath too. What else? Because if you're working on that day, where's your mind at? A lot of times, because we're in a captivity right now, sometimes some of us may have to work on a Sabbath day, right? Some of us may even have to work on a high holy day. So now if you're in your job, you're at your work, and you're in your office, and you're around people who are not like-minded in the spirit here, guess what? Your focus is not on the Most High, right? As much as we try and we exhort each other, like say during the week when we have a new moon or we have certain things, we say, listen, try to stay in the spirit, try to be on point. But the reality is when you go to your job, you're now consumed with work. You're not going to be fully ingrained in accepting and enjoying the day. You're now taking orders from your boss or your employer. You need to go here, you need to do that. You kind of focus like, what? All right, let me get my help. Let me get my head straight. I need to do this and I need to focus on this. So, the Most High needs to be the most important thing on that day. It has to be drawn to that. So if you're working, it's taken away from it. That's why the Lord says 6 days you got to do all that, but I want focus on me. And the reason why he wants to focus on him is because he does not want us to forget how important he is to everything that we do. Everything that we do, everything that we have, everything that we will have comes from the Most High. So if we lose sight of that, like we have, right? If we lose sight of that, then we're going to start becoming high-minded and prideful, thinking that I did it. I got me this thing. Or the Most High just starts to fade away and he does not become the most important thing. So every week we now come before the Most High. And then throughout the year, he has these major events where he has us come before him, right? Major ones. So he has it every Sabbath we come, but then it's like this one is even bigger than that regular Sabbath one. This is on a higher level where we're supposed to make it seem like it's a ballroom type of fair, right? Where everybody's coming together from all over. The Sabbath day, people may be keeping the Sabbath days in their respective locations and not their habitations. You may be in the land of Simeon, you're keeping it there. You're in the land of Judah, you're keeping it there. You're in the land of Ephraim, keeping it there. You may be on the other side of Jordan in Manasseh's land. You got priests up there, you're keeping the Sabbath over there. But for the high holy day, the intent was that we all came back to where? Jerusalem, right? Because it was a major thing.
And granted, we know this is not a religious thing that we're doing, but because of the spread of religion, sometimes we might even think that, you know, we're doing some religious ceremony. This should be think of as a national holiday for the nation of Israel. Think about when they have a national holiday that's significant in America. All the government officials, they have the White House, right? They have the White House. They have to be at that ceremony. They shouldn't miss that ceremony because everybody gonna be there, and that's the same way for our high holidays, right? Because we're supposed to be members of the ruling elite in Israel, so this is how our holiday should be considered as, right? It's like the members, the people that's every day working, teaching the people. Now that day is a high holiday for us to come in. All the cabinet members supposed to be there to celebrate that holiday, and your mind should be on there because it's a big thing. That's the mindset that we should be thinking on those high holidays. Not just like a little group of you know, religious guys coming together and then we're gonna keep the most out. We gotta think it as big as that.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's pick back up. Read 21 again.
21. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 21. And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be a holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations.
Right. So wherever we were, whether we in the Holy Land or whether we are far away in some other land, we still had to be mindful of the feast day, and we still had to keep the ordinance to the best of our ability where we were. Read on.
Verse 22. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field when thou reapest. Neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am the Lord your God.
Right. So now when we read before in Deuteronomy 26 about tithing, right? This is almost like a form of tithing because you took the first fruits and then you gave it to the Most High, right? To be offered. Then now when you have the rest of your land, the corners of the land had to be left. So that's another portion of your now land that you couldn't do anything with. It had to be given to somebody else. Right. So now you got 10% going to the Most High, then you got another percent going to the poor and to the stranger. And then you're going to have another type that you take and you go to Jerusalem and you keep as a custom to go into the holy city and eat and partake of, like it's like a joyous thing. You know, sometimes people go, oh, I want to go to Jamaica. I want to go to Paris or something. And they have like this annual thing with family and friends that they go every year. Some people do that. Not a lot of us, right? Because we ain't got the money to do that. But some people do this, right? Where they go annually, right? And they make a big soiree out of it for like a week. Well, this is supposed to be something that we did annually to go back to Jerusalem, right? To make sure that you remember your holy city. We always up to going everywhere else, but that's our city. That's our land. So the Most High wanted to make sure that we went back there. So even every different facet, the Most High had it where even what you had, some of it still had to be given to someone else. So it's not just 10%, it's more than 10% as you're reading the dynamics of this, right?
And also this reminds us of proper management and distribution of the Most High's resources, which is what it's about. To properly distribute and manage the Most High's property. Right? Because this is all the Most High's property. We're here, you know, to just do that. Once we make sure that we manage everything properly the way the Most High intended, and then continuously the Most High made a feast so we can keep reminding us.
Right. Con. So now, I think that was it. So it spoke the last things in 21 and what it talks about keeping it throughout your dwellings, throughout your generations. Let's go to the book of Tobit. We read 23 and 9 to 22.
That's in Leviticus, right?
Yeah, Leviticus 23. I'm just recapping what we just read. So now we go to the book of Tobit, first chapter and the 16th verse.
We read from Leviticus
9 to 22. 22. 23, 9 and 22. So in Tobit, the first chapter, in 16. So now we're reading about a brother named Tobit who was a Naphthalite, right? During the time of the captivity, he was in Nineveh, right? So he was dwelling in Nineveh in the captivity, right? So now we're reading about him specifically, what was going on with him during that period. So this is Tobit 1 and 16. It says, and in the time of Enemessar, I gave many alms to my brethren, and gave my bread to the hungry, and my clothes to the naked. And if I saw any of my nation dead or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him. So we see in that this brother had the same mind state involved as far as for looking out for those who were the poor, right? It says again, in the time of Manasseh, I gave many alms to my brethren, and I gave my bread to the hungry, right? I fed those who was in need. Those who needed clothing, I clothed them, right? Yahushua loved a brother like this, because remember in the gospel, he spoke about, you know, if you fed one of these, you fed me. If you clothe one of those, you clothed me. It's the same thing, right? It says again, and if I saw any of my nation dead or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him, keeping in mind we're in the captivity here. So you had a lot of the nations killing some of our brothers and leaving them out just in the streets. We was less than, even back then, right? The same way how we look at ourselves as 3/5, we was less than in other captivities. That's why it doesn't matter when we talk about what the Most High's judgment is going to be. All nations fell victim to discriminating and treating us a certain way. This brother took it out of his way to go and bury them, because they was just left there with no graves, left there like there was nothing. So he put his life in jeopardy to go and find these brothers' bodies and then bury them. Verse 18, and if the king Sennacherib had slain any when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privately. For in his wrath he killed many, but the bodies were not found when they were sought for of the king, right? So along his warpath, he was treacherous. And anyone that came over, they slaughtered and killed, and he went to go and try to find their bodies and bury them. Verse 19. And when one of the Ninevites went in and complained of me to the king, that I buried them and hid myself, understanding that I was sought for to be put to death, I withdrew myself for fear, right? So even in his good deed, he put his life in jeopardy. And when he found out that someone was going to go rat him out, he went into hiding for fear of what? Him being put to death himself, right? It says, verse 20, then all my goods were forcibly taken away. Neither was there anything left beside me, beside my wife Anna and my son Tobias. So once that was known that this man was doing this against the will or the wishes of the kingdom, they was looking for him, but they couldn't find him. But they knew where he stayed. So what did they do? They went and took all his belongings, right? So now, you know how we was talking about, we was watching on the thing with Geno Jennings is acquiring them. And he was like, some of these people don't go speak out because they realize that they're going to be what made an example of. Everything that they have is going to be taken away, right? But that's just the industries type stuff. This is nationality. This is for your culture, your people, that he went and did this. And now what happened? They found him out and they go and started beginning to take away all the things that was necessary for him to sustain himself, right? All of his belongings and possessions, they went and, what's the word? Confiscated. You know, sometimes they say we're going to put a freeze on your assets. Can't access money in your bank account, right? Because they want to now make an example out of you.
And also, this pretty much serves as when we doing this thing, even we doing the right thing, tests will come to see if what we doing is genuine, right? And without conviction, and if you really don't have conviction in what you're doing, sooner or later you just drop off. You just say, see, I was doing all this thing and I was paying my tithes, I was doing good for people, then I don't know, this thing won't work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's a test, and those tests they're gonna be there constantly, and it's not gonna stop until we get in a casket. Don't expect any temptation to stop.
A casket or your house shot comes.
Oh, yeah, shot comes.
Right.
We see this too happening in America. It's been happening, but it's going to increase even more when they try to break down these amendments to the Constitution, especially the Fourth Amendment in this case, which is unreasonable search and seize of property.
Yeah.
So it's coming.
So back in Tobit 1, and we at verse 21. It says, and there passed not 55 days, but 2 of his sons killed him, and they fled into the mountains of Ararat. And Sacadonis, his son, reigned in his stead, who appointed over his father's accounts and all of his affairs, Achiacharis, my brother Ananiel's sons. So the beauty of, like I always say, when you start getting into details like this, if you want to go and do some real good history research or corresponding of different people's perspective on how you're going to find one of their kings in their history that went and killed the sons, killed the father, right? And then you can find out more from their perspective on what was going on with Israel or the people who they had captive. And then you now can look and say, oh, Tobit was there during that time. Right, and you can hear all other things. The Most High doesn't give you all of that because it's really not pertinent to this, because there's more meat in this story that's pertaining to Tobit, Tobias, and what was going to transpire. But you can read more in depth once you cross-reference this story, that verse 21, with a king from that period. Verse 22, and Achiacharis entreated for me, and I returned to Nineveh. Now Achiacharis was a cupbearer and a keeper of the signet, and steward and overseer of the accounts. And Sacadonis appointed him next unto him, and he was my brother's son. So his nephew was the one now that was in a specific spot of leadership to now be able to now pay attention and then call his uncle now out of hiding, because he was now in hiding because he was being sought after. So now once the king died, they appointed people who was in position that now had his back. He was able to now come back or be petitioned to come back to where his family was. Gabar.
Now, is that the same that Sennacherib that lost all those troops?
Same where? Where we reading?
185,000. Is that the same Sennacherib where all his troops died? Angel killed all his troops.
Where?
We just read about this man Sennacherib's sons killed him, right?
No, where did you see Sennacherib? Oh, okay, Kun. So you talking about, is this the same one that you read in like Kings? Was it 2 Kings, I think the 19th chapter?
Yeah, where he lost all those troops. The angel guy smited him overnight or something.
Yeah, I think 2 Kings 19. Kun. 2 Kings 19:35 to 37.
It's the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
That was another part of Israel he was fighting at that time.
What do you mean, another part of Israel?
But it was Israelites living
Kun.
in Nineveh,
Right.
and then he had attacked this other group of Israelites in Kings.
No, this is the same thing. Like what we just read in 21 is the same thing that we're reading here in 2 Kings. Because when you read 2 Kings 19, I'm going to read it, right? 19:35, right? It says, and it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went out and smote the camp of the Assyrians 184,5,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. Verse 36. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt in Nineveh. 37. And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch his god, that Adremelech and Sharezer his sons smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia, and Esarhaddon his son reigned in his stead. Right? So he saw that happen, but he came back to Nineveh. He's in whatever false god temple that they was worshiping at the time, and his sons conspired against him for whatever reason. That's why I said sometimes it's good to go read, maybe in their history, they'll give you the motive behind why they killed him. But the Most High recorded it here that we now know their names and the king who was killed, what he was doing, and then they left. And then his other son came and reigned in his stead. So we find out, you know, in their history, that same storyline, they may give us a little bit more information about it.
Now my question was, so there was Israelites in Nineveh at this time,
Right.
but those weren't the same people who just got that victory that he was trying to take over.
Right. Because remember, they just said that they all got slaughtered.
Right.
Yeah.
They lost that. So that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
How he had all this power, but he had already had some of us in captivity in his own land.
Right.
Or whatever that. But that wasn't Nineveh, where 185,000 got slaughtered.
Mm-hmm.
That was what Jerusalem was.
Gone. So now going back to Tobit, second chapter, first verse. It says, now when I was come home again, so now Tobit is coming back to being reunited with his wife and his son, and my wife Anna, and was restored unto me with my son Tobias, in the feast of Pentecost, which is the holy feast of the 7 weeks. There was a good dinner prepared me, in the which I sat down to eat. Right? So he's now being reunited with his family during the time of the first fruits, also known as the Feast of Weeks. As it said here, the holy feast of the 7 weeks, and also Pentecost. So now he's now eating a good dinner prepared for him by his wife for honoring the feast day. It says, and when I saw abundance of meat, I said to my son, go and bring what poor man, whosoever thou shalt find out of thy brethren, who was mindful of the Lord, and lo, I tarry for thee. So he had a meal prepared, and understanding and keeping in tune with the spirit of the first fruits and the Pentecost, where we looked out for the poor. Go find me a poor man that's amongst our brethren, but not just any man. This man got to be mindful of the Most High, right? Not just because he's poor can he come in, right? That's why we all used to set the standard that on a feast day, on a high holy day, sometimes you have friends who you might be, you know, teaching, or you might meet an acquaintance, and then they just now they got freed up time, and you want to bring them to the feast day. No, that's not the time to bring them to the feast day. Bring them to a class or something else, not on a high holy day, because you want someone who is mindful of the Lord. Remember, we want to be all in the same spirit and the mind state on the Lord's day. If they still got to learn certain things, let them learn outside of the high holy day. But on the high holy day, they need to know about the Most High. They need to know about Yahushua. They need to know about the commandments, and then they can get into the feast days, right? That's the key.
And on top of, let me add on that, it's this right here, what Tobit is doing, this is management of the kingdom's management mindset of Tobit right there. So everything that he has a way of this, a third here, the third there. I sold this here, I sold this there. Then he come into what we are reading right here about that man said, go find me a poor man of Israel. The key part about this, as I see, is be diligent. You could be, it's good to be generous, but be diligent in your generosity. Know to whom you do good to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you do good to an Israelite, it becomes a chain reaction. That knows the Most High, that knows the law,
right? Now he's gonna learn something that he didn't know, based on that act that I just did. So he can take it and teach it to somebody else, and it becomes like a chain reaction.
Right.
So he knew exactly what he was doing and why he said it that way to do it that way.
Okay. So reading on, it says, but he came again and said, Father, one of our nation is strangled and is cast out in the marketplace. Then before I had tasted of any meat, I started up and took him into a room until the going down of the sun. Then I returned and washed myself and ate my meat in heaviness, remembering that prophecy of Amos, as he said, your feast shall be turned into mourning and all your mirth into lamentation, which he's quoting in Amos, the 8th chapter, the 10th verse, right? That even on our feast days, which we're supposed to be rejoicing in, over time, there's going to be times where we now see sorrow and mourning on those times. And that was one of them at that time, because when he's sitting down to have a joyous occasion, he's now hearing news. It's about here's another brother, right? That's what's been happening to us for the past several years now. It's like every time you turn around, someone got choked out, someone got shot up, someone got the knee, or someone got this. Like, oh man, it's another one, right? So it now disrupts and it causes sorrow to come into your day. Remember, Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, 1st chapter, Ecclesiastes, the 1st chapter, verse 18. So Ecclesiastes 1:18 says, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Why? So that's so what you're describing is what we read today in the Sabbath service, as it pertains to how the brothers, Peter and the rest of the apostles, went out to preach, but everyone else was trying to stunt their growth. It was like, nah, we don't want you to speak. We don't even want you to mention that name. If you do it, we're going to put some hands on you. At one point, they wanted to kill him because they were just going out there preaching, right? So just the opposition of what you face when you're going out there preaching is one aspect, but there's another aspect.
Also, one aspect of it is the more you know, the more you realize how wicked this world is and what you're up against.
Exactly.
And you can't turn back.
Exactly. Because now as you start understanding, before you came into the truth, you didn't know what you know now. You didn't know that there were certain things that you was doing wrong all along because you was taught or misguided from the beginning. So now you come into the truth and you're like, oh man, we ain't supposed to do that. Oh man. Right? And then you realize it and understand it, and then you start seeing it being done consistently about everyone else. So you start seeing the kingdom just tarnished because we are the kingdom of the Most High. But now when you look at the kingdom of heaven, you start seeing them operating, doing things that the Most High doesn't want. Man. Right? You see how we acting out there in the streets, on the corners, on TV and movies and videos, and these like, man. Exactly. It could now weigh on you, right? And then the expectation of now I got to go and correct them. I know I'm like Ezekiel now in the 3rd chapter. I know they ain't gonna want to hear me talking to them. So that all of that comes with getting knowledge. This is not like going to college or to Harvard and Yale and you getting your doctorate, you got your title and everyone knows who you are. When you go spit that knowledge, Well, that knowledge comes with good stuff, right? People coming, they're paying money to come sit in your classroom and learn of you. That's not what that knowledge is. This knowledge here is talking about when you really understanding what makes a man and what makes a woman, and how much we are far removed as a people from that. And now you're like, oh man. And then you seeing this on top of that, getting killed, getting raped, getting robbed, and then it compounds on it, right? So we got to force ourselves to make sure that we see the kingdom in its glory just in our spirit and our minds when we look out, that we keep continuing doing this to have something better, to have a good outlook on life, as opposed to just seeing this all day long.
That's why sometimes you come to understand scriptures like what it's like without the wine. So every now and then you gotta, like, you know, sip some wine just so you can tame, you know, be right. So because you see things too clear.
Yeah. Got to take the edge off.
Right.
All right, so I stopped there at 2 and 6. Say again. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Where when you learning the knowledge, all the breakdowns and all the mysteries is cool. It's tawab. But then when the application now kicks in, when you have to really go out and apply and see and do and hit, then it becomes like, oh man. So that definitely applies to that.
What we read in Ecclesiastes, what is it again?
118.
Oh, it's Revelation chapter 10, verse 9 and 10. Go to Ecclesiastes. Chapter 10,
All right, so let's go to Deuteronomy 16.
Let me get that Revelation.
Oh, you want to read it? Oh, Revelations chapter 10, verses 9 and 10. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy 16. 16. So Deuteronomy 16 and 16, it says, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God, in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of the unleavened bread, or the Passover, in the feast of weeks, known as the Firstfruits, or the Pentecost, or the feast of the 7 weeks. It says, and in the feast of the tabernacles, or also the feast of the ingatherings. And they shall not appear empty, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. So the Most High required males to appear before him, right? Why just males? Why not females? Huh? Males are the ones who use to bring forth his word. Okay. Males out of the household.
you almost not going to say inheritance.
Say what?
Inheritance.
So, oh,
Because sometimes they could be unclean because of menstruation or childbirth.
right. Right. So women are more susceptible to being unclean, especially the younger sister, those who have age to have kids. If you require them and they're unclean, what does that say? So the Most High knew that we had more control of being here, right? We can refrain ourselves from sex, right? Unless we was in wartime, that would probably be the only other time outside of a chance of by night situation that would cause it. But because the day begins in the evening, right? You still have more control to say, okay, I'm going to go and take a nap and then get myself ready before the sun sets. To now, if that happened, I could wash up real quick and then make sure that I come and I'm clean before the holy day, right? So men have more control to be here. But the most important piece, like the brothers are saying, when it comes to the pecking order, it's the Most High, like it says in Corinthians 11th chapter, the Most High Yahweh Shah, then who? Man. Man will set the standard for the household. Man will determine if the wife can come or if she can't come, or the kids can come and she can't come. Males have to be there, right? You can't say that the women have to be there, because then you'll have certain cases like how you have in today's churches, where women go to church and the man stay home. You don't want to go. You want to watch football. All right, you going, you representing me. You representing the household, the family, because you in there. And it's flooded with sisters. 2/3 of sisters probably in the church, and then there's a third of men who probably looking there for other motives. Most High said, not here. Men must appear. So the majority of the church or the congregation should be brothers, right? The majority of the congregation, when it comes to worship before the Most High, should be men. It should not be predominantly women, right? We will want more brothers to be there worshiping the Most High. So all males must appear, whether you physically here, especially in today's time, where you physically here, you logged in over here, you're watching over here. There's different ways that you can be joined in. When we just read it in Tobit, he went and kept the feast at his house, being in Nineveh. He didn't make it to Jerusalem, but he still kept it, right? You keep it in your mind, in your spirit. You're mindful of the Most High. Yahweh Kanan.
Proverbs 8:4.
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs 8:4. Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men.
Right. So unto you, the Most High is now petitioning and calling out first to the brothers or to the men of his nation to come in. It's also the same thing as when you read in Revelation. You can link that with Revelations 21:3. Revelations 21:3. Read that, Yaukanan.
Revelation 21:3. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, tabernacle of God is with men,
Mm-hmm.
and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God.
Right. So the tabernacle of God, the tabernacle of the Most High, the chief place of the Most High is with men. Which men? Men of Israel, right? And he will dwell with them. The Most High is going to be in the midst of us, right? And we will be his people, and he will be our God, all right? So that links up with the Proverbs 8:4. But going back to Deuteronomy 16, I'll read 16 again and then read 17. It says, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of the unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before the Lord empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he have given thee. Going back again, that's what we're always looking for, the blessing from the Most High. But in order to receive the blessing, you have to give your offering, right? Can't appear empty. So he's reminding you in the first fruits, you can't appear empty before me. You got to come with something. And then I'll bless you throughout the rest of the year, right? So in each holy day, there's something synonymous, and there's something that to be learned from what the Most High wants to gain on it, gain us to gain from it from a spiritual perspective. Tabernacles, we understand the booths and things, we get into that. For the first fruits, like Paquad is bringing out earlier, that if we give the first fruits, everything else will fall into place, right? We don't have to worry about blessings or things that's necessary or needful for you to come will come, especially if you're giving back the Most High his own. That's like somebody, if I got tools and you come and borrow my tool, and I'm like, all right, cool, you can borrow my tool, but you don't return my tool unto me. I got to come ask you for my tools. I'm like, yo, where my tools at? Right? I'm going to be apprehensive now to guess what? Loan you anything else, right? You're going to have need of something else that I got. And you're going to come and ask me, yo, Samat, can I borrow such and such? I'm like, hold on, brother. Where's my such and such at? You ain't even give me that. How you going to come ask me for something else? Like, you're right. But, you know, all right, when you give me that, then I'll think about the next one. But then when he does it, you now are already thinking that this brother don't return stuff to me. And the reason why I put it that way, because all of it is the Most High's, right? You're giving back the Most High what's already his. So that's why it says, hey, you going to return my fruits to me back yet? I don't really need it, but I just want to see if you're going to return it to me. Oh, okay, cool. You got, all right, cool. Nah, you good. Take that and then some.
And think of the blessings as promotion. You've been managing correctly. Now you bump you up to another promotion.
Right.
And if you don't manage right, you're gonna lose the 90% that I give you anyway. But granted that you still gotta eat, I'm gonna just leave 10 in your hand, but you're always gonna be losing money because you're a bad man. Right. So because the purpose is to better my property. Always, because when somebody gives you something to manage, they always want you to return it better than how they give it. So that's the key. When the Most High bless you, it's a bump up management level. Most High give you more.
Right.
Then he did better. So now he's managing my resources so good, I gotta give him more. That's why the Most High said, give it to him that has more. How would the Most High give it to him that? Because he's doing more with it, the way I want him to do it. But if you're not doing with it, what's the point of me wasting my resources to you? Where is you being when my resources is not being managed correctly? So the blessings is pretty much a promotion.
Con. So let's go to Romans, the 8th chapter. Romans, the 8th chapter and the 8th verse. Salak, 18th verse.
Romans 8 and 18.
Con. So this is Romans 8 and 18. It says, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Right? So everything that we endured, are enduring, and will continue to endure up until the time that either you die and be resurrected back at the appearing of Yahushua, or if you still remain and are here, comes back, that will be in small or pale comparison to the glory that's going to come. That's where our hope is. That's why we do what we do. We don't focus too much on this, but while we're in it, that's all we see. It's just those things sometimes outweigh it, but we don't focus on that. I'm gonna read it again. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God, right? So that's what the world is really waiting on, right? That better world, that new world that's going to come, that's going to really eradicate all this stuff that we see going on right now. They just look for it in the wrong perspective. Little black boys and black girls walking hand in hand. That is not the earnest expectation that the Most High has. It's really looking for the sons of God to establish themselves, set up the kingdom of Christ, and let the Most High's will and his laws rule the earth. It says, for the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who have subjected the same in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. So Satan has caused us to lust and follow after things that is not according to the Most High. But we desire and are waiting for us to be delivered from this bondage of sin, to be delivered from what we see, all the trials and travail of the people that's going on now, that we now enter into our glorious light. So what we're here doing is trying to be a partaker of the first ones to enter into that glorious light. As it says in verse 22, for we know that the whole creature groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. So that's what we're waiting on, right? We are partakers of the first fruits of the Spirit, meaning that we were the ones first called out of the world to now remember who we were from the past, right? So that carries on. If we sustain that, then we receive the glory. If you fall short, then you're going to receive the condemnation. You're going to be rejected by the Most High and Yahushua when the angels appear and not being accepted. But we want our body to be what? Redeemed back to the Father and Yahushua. That's the key.
Yeah, I got a scripture on the affliction and things that you bring in, and how the devil, we kind of like give in to the devil's temptation to make it for us to sin. James 4:7. Simple scripture, but oh wait. James chapter 4 verse 7 reads, submit yourselves therefore to the Most High, resist the devil, and you will flee from you. Right? The key is you don't fight the devil, you resist the devil. Because the devil is fighting you to come get what's yours. But your goal is just to resist the devil. You submit to the Most High and resist the devil. Then that's it. You don't have to fight. That's one good thing. Because he's coming to fight you for what's yours. But all you got to do is resist. And we only as strong as the temptation we fall.
Gun. Using James.
Gun.
Go to the first chapter, Baba Kashah, and read James 1:17 and 18 to go with what we were just reading also.
James 1, right?
James 1.
And 17 to 18.
Gun.
James chapter 1 and verse 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of light, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning.
Right. So everything that we have, again, every good gift, perfect gift comes from the Most High. Got to remember that, right? And with the Most High, he's always been consistent. There's no variableness, meaning like your interest rate, you have a variable interest rate. It could change today, it can go up tomorrow, come down. Most High is not like that. He don't change. Or as it says, there is no turning or shadow of turning with the Lord. Like, no, you know what? I changed my mind. Now I'm gonna. I did it. I was going in this direction. Now I'm gonna follow and do this. No, that's not how the Most High operates.
He's one cat. You don't. Like you said, he doesn't change his personality. Today, he's this personality. Tomorrow is another personality. Just like sometimes we act. Sometimes we're not stable.
Right.
We're not stable. Like, yo, what's going on with him? The Most High, there's no variable, there's no shadow. That's why it says the Most High power is one.
Right.
He's all integrated, everything in one. So you can always count on that, and it'll never change.
Okay.
Right, verse 18 in James 2 and 18, 1 and 18. And it says, of his own will begotten us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruit of his creatures. So we should be a kind of first fruit of his creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, we can be just like him, right? Because among his creatures, we the one that's created in his image and his character. And that's the key. The key is to try to emulate the Most High's character. And that's what holiness is about, is oneness.
Right. So we were begotten via truth. And once we became the truth, now we were the first fruits of the creatures that were now created in these last days. Right. Those who don't get it, the 2/3, They're just going to have to get it later on, right? They're not going to receive the truth right now with the first fruits, right? That's like being, you're going to a, how should I say this? You go into some kind of an establishment or a soiree and everybody's outside waiting to get in. And it's like 500 people there. And they say, we're only letting in about 80 people. And you're like, 80 people? They got 500 us out here. So now everybody jostling, trying to bogart their way to get in, to be a part of the first ones to get in to see or receive whatever that is. Well, we were not even bogarting our way to get in. We was handpicked, cherry-picked, right? No one of us decided and said, oh, I'm going to come into this. It may appear that way, but no, the Most High said, okay, now he's going to see it. Okay, now he's going to see it. And now you come in. Now you're like, yo, this is crazy. This is what's up, right? And now you're in here and you're like, man, I want a whole bunch of us to be in here, like Paul, right? Paul wanted everybody to be saved, knowing that everybody's not going to be saved on the first trip, right? But that's how it is. So now we're a part of the first fruits of the creatures created by the Most High. Revelations 14. Huh? Come on. Revelations 14:1. So it says, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads, right? So the vision of John the Revelator pertaining to the elect receiving their glory. On the Mount Zion, the lamb stood, and with him, this is where we talk, this is how you correlate the government that talks about. When you read, remember we was reading today, we was watching the video today, was Aquan and Geno Jennings. The other video with Geno Jennings, when he was trying to debate or answer the Israelite question about Romans 9, and then he went or had his reader read Isaiah the 2nd chapter and the 2nd verse, right? He skipped the first verse about who it was talking about, but when you read the 2nd verse, it's talking about Mount Zion. Now you seeing who Mount Zion is made up of. I'm gonna read it again. And lo, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. So based on Revelation 7, you know who are the 144,000. These are Israelites, 12,000 from each tribe in Mount Zion with Yahushua. So now when they say, okay, we're going to go up to Mount Zion, you know who is Mount Zion supposed to be represented by, right? But he glossed over that to try to fit this whole thing where all nations is coming and going. Everybody's just allowed there, removing the fact that in Mount Zion, in Jerusalem, where the Most High's house is, it's made up of his people, right? It says, verse 2, and I heard a voice from heaven and a voice of many waters as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the 4 beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. So in that day, there's going to be new things that's going to come out that we don't know now. The Most High says he's going to bring all of us back to a pure language, meaning we're not going to be stumbling over Hebrew and learning what name and how to do it. We're not going to be doing that. Remember, we read in Hebrews where it says you're not going to be teaching each other to know the Lord. We're going to be perfect. We're not going to be just speaking right now in English or some in Spanish and some in French. No, we're going to be speaking in our language. We're going to learn our real names, right? We're going to learn new names. We're going to learn Yahushua has a new name that we don't know about right now. So there's a lot of new things. And then it says we're going to learn a new song in that day, only for the 144,000. Meaning the rest that don't come, they probably won't get this. It's only going to be the blessing that's going to be given to the 144,000. It's like when you go to a banquet and they give only like ribbons or trophies to certain people. Everybody was like, yo, that was nice. Damn, I didn't get one. No, you're not getting one. It was only for those that ran the race and ran it well. They getting one from the 1st to the 10th. Everybody, there's no, oh, he was the first one in line or he was the first one that crossed. The real first one that crossed that gets the real superior reward is a Hawashah, right? Then you go into the 12 disciples because they're going to be sitting on thrones. But after that, everybody is just going to be happy to be there, right? I'm like, I don't care if I was the 127,383rd person that came. I don't care. Or if I was the 143,998, I don't care. Like, oh, there's 2 more behind. All right, yeah, we back at the back of the line. Like, yeah, we got this. But we could, right? They called my name. I got a crown. I'm good, right? So it says, those which were redeemed from the earth. It says in verse 4, for these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. They are they which followed the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. So right now, as we are still sitting here, that's how we have to think, that we are the first fruits outside of Yahushua, who is the first fruit, singular. Right? And then after him are us, the first fruits that come after Yahushua. So right now you have to have it in mind that you are the first fruits today and continuing on. Not that, oh, I want to be. Focus on it and say, no, I'm going to continue in this. Because if you start to think about it and you doubt yourself and you start now letting sin come in or doubt come in, then you're not going to try to run the race as best you can. If you look at the sports world, and you look at certain athletes, when they go into a game, guess what they thinking? I'm the best. I'm the best. I see these competitors out here, but I'm the best at what I'm doing. They go in with the mind state that they can accomplish the goal. They're not doubting themselves. Well, I don't know if we're going to beat this team today. No, a team who's probably 2-15, when it goes and plays a team that's 17-1, guess what they're saying? We got a shot, man. We got a chance. Like, I mean, every time somebody has their bad day, so we're going to be confident going that we're going to be able to beat them. The reality might be, well, they ain't going, man, listen, they ain't got a shot in hell, but they going in confident, right? So when we do our walk, we're not going to allow Satan to think that, oh, yeah, he's going to defeat us. No, we're going to conquer Satan. We're going to get the victory like it talks about in 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. We're going to get it. It's been laid out for us. So we have to see ourselves in that 4th verse. We have to see ourselves as the first fruits.
Right. And it's not a question that you got to psych yourself. You are the best.
Mm-hmm.
You are the best. And there's no if and but about it. Only if you realize the gift that is unique to you that the Most High give you, right? Unique from everybody else. Everybody got their gift, but your gift is unique to you. Once that is discovered, you are the best.
Right. So I'm going to read this again. It says, these are they which were not defiled with women, meaning we were not dealing with any other philosophies to pollute or dilute us. Remember, like how he talks about the great whore, right? Same way how we are likened to a woman, doctrines, philosophies are like women as well, right? Drinking the wine of her fornication. We are not polluted with that. Then it says, for they are virgins, spiritual virgins. Does it mean that we never was dealing with any other philosophy? We have been dealing with other philosophy. You wasn't born into this truth. You wasn't consistent in it. But when you came into the truth, like it says in Isaiah 1:18, come let us reason together. At that point, when you came in, Yahushua and the Most High said, all right, I'm washing all that stuff out. You was bloody with sins, but now you are white like a lamb, right? And then now let's mark and measure you from this time forth. And now once you're in the truth, you are now like a virgin. You don't want to go out there and get popped, get your cherry popped by something to now make you defiled. You don't want to have that happen. So this is what John the Revelator saw, that these were spiritual virgins that stayed the course and followed Yahushua wherever we go. It doesn't mean that they went back to Israel and started now trying to mark the paths of where he physically walked. No. Yahushua is the word in the volume of the book. So wherever he said to go and do, that's what we do, right? Whatever he said through the scriptures to go and do, that's what we do, right? From dietary laws to ceremonial laws, we follow and go wherever the word says to go, because he is the word.
Exactly what you said. And I'll say this also. It's not like we didn't mess up.
Right.
But we've stood our ground till the end.
Right.
We hold that ground. We held on to that set of principles that we commit ourselves that we will not violate. Even if we fall up. We don't fall back down. We just keep falling up. We mess up, we keep falling up. We use our failure as stepping stone to keep moving forward. Right? As opposed to, get discouraged and say, man, I will never be able to do this. And then you give up. So that's what everything is for.
All right. Let's read on. It says, these were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Right? So while we were in the truth, no ill dealings, no speaking any abominations or things of that nature to the Most High and his word and his truth. We stayed the course, right? We didn't speak out a course of what the Most High wants us to do. Or they're going to be certain times where camps or whatever may believe that the new moon is this or this is that, but they're not speaking out against the Holy Spirit, right? They're not doing what Yahushua said that some do, that now have tasted the good nature of this. They're not doing that. Those brothers are not going to be a part of the first fruits, right? That opportunity is now moved on to someone else. That is taken away and given to someone who's going to be more fruitful and profitable. We pray that none of us ever fall to that type of a mind state, right? Where you are in it and then you go and you start speaking against it. I've seen videos of before online and YouTube where you like, dang, man. Yeah, a before and after picture. And you wonder and you scratch your head like, how can this be? Man. And then you start realizing that the scriptures is the Most High Yahushua is accurate, because they warned us about those same things happening, right? And then the judgment that would befall an individual for those things happen too. One more, 1 Corinthians 15. Touched on this in the Sabbath service, but I want to read through this because it goes in line with what we're talking about. 1 Corinthians 15. And 19. So 1 Corinthians 15 and 19 says, it says, if in this life only we have hope in Christ, we are of all most miserable. Right? So if all we can see is just what we have in this life pertaining to Christ, yeah, man, we ain't got no hope. We have to look and have our mind on the kingdom. The kingdom has to be what we see and not what we see in this life.
Like without a vision, the people perish. You don't have a vision of the kingdom that
exactly. It says, verse 20, but now is Christ risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even in Christ shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order, Christ the first fruits, afterward they that are Christ at his coming, right? So it's the same way how there's an order. Christ is the first fruit of everything, right? As we read in verse 20, but now is Christ risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept. No one comes, not Moses, Elijah, Isaiah, no one comes before Christ being the first fruits. They all now, after they have been sleeping with in the third heaven with the Most High, and they come back, they all now follow and become bricks that fit perfectly around the cornerstone, right? They now fit. You can't have, okay, Elijah was here and Moses was here, and then Yahweh fits in there. No, that means he's not the first. The cornerstone is the first one dedicated. Everyone else got to follow after that. So Elijah had to come after that in the regeneration of the spirit and learn after Yahweh or from Yahweh. Moses had to come in the regeneration to learn after Yahweh. All the great ones, Daniel, everyone had to come after Yahweh and learn of it the right way, right? That's what this is saying. Verse 24. Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to God, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power, right? That's what we're waiting for. All this to transpire, 144,000 to be met, and then cometh the end, where this setup is now done away with. We already see it. Babylon is fallen, is fallen. It's ever more clear now than it's ever been before. Right? If you thought about it, we used to say this at camp before, and we used to say, yeah, Babylon is fallen, and you could see remnants of it then. But now today, as they get closer and closer, you could see it falling. Literally, they're pulling down statues, right? They're changing names of sports teams and things of that nature. They're talking about changing laws, right? Now they're saying, the brother was like, yeah, Zakar was like, yeah, they're gonna sing the black national anthem now at the football games. It's fallen more so ever clearly now than ever before. But it still is not even there yet. So it's still more to go before we get there. But now that's what we're waiting for the end to come and for Yahweh and Yahweh to put down all rule. Verse 25, it says, for he must reign till he have put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death, right? So conquering Esau or bringing down his kingdom is one thing, but what the most important thing to have happen is what? To conquer death. Why? Because from death, we know sin. And with sin is what caused us to now fall as man and all the rest of our empires and captivities and generations. So once we get rid of that, everything else is cool runnings.
With death already conquered. With death has already been conquered. Yahweh just has to come and implement.
Right. Exactly. He showed us how to deal with it. Right. He conquered it himself by not sinning. Right. And now that's going to be as a part of the second covenant, that gift is going to be given to us. Right. Where we won't sin in the kingdom. Right. All right. So that was the last one that I had. I don't know if anyone else wanted to bring out something else. I didn't read Acts, the second chapter, because we just read that a couple weeks ago in the Sabbath service. Went through it. Elder Zaquan went through that. Fine tooth comb. So I wanted to leave that and just touch on other scriptures. There's a lot of scriptures in the Old Testament still that reference the first fruits or the high holy days. So it would be good or advantageous for brothers and sisters if they want to get some of those precepts and do the study on them and go into the scriptures and pull them out.
What was the scripture in Revelation 21 again?
Revelations 21. Okay, go out. I don't know if I wrote that one down. No. Yeah, I got it down. All right, so fireworks stop.
He got tired.
Yeah, it ran out. It ran out. But, still in all, there's still a joyous occasion for us. It's always a good thing to come on the Most High's high holy day and to keep it, right? Because when you realize that you're keeping the statute or you're dwelling with brothers on the Lord's day is as if we have to consider it like he's here, whether it's 2, 20, 100, 1,000, right? The main objective is to keep it as it is written, And then you desire to have more and more people in that same mindset and vein. With that, I'll say definitely Most High's will, everybody that's watching and listening, enjoy the feast day. You know, it's a weekend. If you're not working, enjoy it. Try to stay in the spirit. It's not 4th of July, so you know if you choose to go cook out or something tomorrow, right? You won't feel guilty to think that people are going to think that you're celebrating 4th of July because that should have passed. But in that space, you can still edify them and let them know. They may know who you are anyway. Most people should know that you're not about worldly holidays and things of that nature anyway. So you know, feel free to enjoy and rejoice in the day and reflect on things that was brought out or discussed on how we can better ourselves to be better first fruits before the Most High and Yahweh Shah. And then we earn and desire for the coming of the end, more so than ever before. So with that, I say happy feast of the first fruits. Yasha Allah, enjoy the day. Most High's will, everybody has a fruitful and joyous remainder of the feast day. Stay tuned for the closing prayers. Shalom. Somebody get the blinds. Barakata Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Parya, Hagapin, Thuara Aman, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ath, Yasha Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, or the Most High, in the name of Christ, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, with Israel. A Madwa upon you all Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Babakusha, Shammai, Lanawa, Aitha, Yum Gun, Aitha, Shalat, Micah Allah, Wahalahayim, Tazudakim, La, Shema'ayim, Barat, Rapah, Magun, Wahakaziyat, Bunya, Yasha Allah, Washalat, Lanawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Rabiam, Da'aith, Rabiam, Bayana, Rabiam, Sabalanwa, Rabiam, Amawan, Rabiam, Aqua, Rabiam, Ahabiam, Rabiam, Agana, Rakanaya, Wasalat, Ko, Kata Ayamnawa, Laha'akim, Wa'akwa, Wa'yasha Allah, from Yad, Wa'iwalam, Ba'asham, Yahawashai, Thawada, Aman. English translation. Most High, in the name of Christ, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers of angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahweh Shah, thank you, so be it. Four Corners Prayer. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha Allah, Wabath Yasaparim, Shema, Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Haynawa, Yahweh, Achad. English translation. Most High, in the name of Christ, bless us and Israel in the house of books of schools. And Deuteronomy 6:4, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power. All right, blessing for the food. Yahweh, got a wall. Ba'ashem, Adawanya, Yahweh Shai, Babakusha, Barak, Mako, Yanawa, Shatayawa, Yanawa, Yayan, Yanawa, Lakam, Yanawa. What is this? Shakarai, Yanawa, Zakad, Shaw, Yawum, Bakawarya, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, the water, Amun. All right. So with that, again, we'll say happy feast to the first fruits to all Israel, brothers and sisters. Enjoy the day. Most High's will. We'll see or hear each other during the upcoming classes during the week. If any questions on anything, please write them down. Bring them up to classes Tuesday night, 7 to 10. Same thing, Friday night, 7 to 10. Most High's blessed, love, and protection goes out to all the brothers and sisters. Shalom.
Shalom.